Assalamu alaikum, Honorable Chair and worthy colleagues. I am very grateful that the organizer of this symposium has given me chance to be able to talk to you on this important subject. And I am going to talk to you about a journey from corrupt to transparent procurement system. I wish I was with you physically, but I am out of country presently in the United States, and my talk with you is being virtually conducted. Anyway, this is a very important subject. And as you see, the public procurement consumes 45 to 65% of the national budget. And if you see the ranking, Pakistan at present ranks at 120 among 180 countries. And you see India is at 86, Bangladesh is 146, and China 80. Now we have a reference, Andrew Henderson. And according to him, this National Accountability Bureau was created to curb corruption. But as you see, a lot of times they are not being able to corruption, and they are having deals. These deals are really a loophole, and I think we need to do something about it. Now we have a reference from Shafiq Hussain Bangish. He points out that training and certification of procurement officials is required, and training has to go on not only on a professional level but also on personality characteristics, and all this has to be customized right from bottom to top. As we have seen, we need certified procurement professionals. And these procurement professionals need to be certified, and at present in Pakistan there is no such accreditation or certification done. According to Rafi Amiruddin, this is a societal issue and it has to be addressed by percept building of the people. And corruption, in fact, is a cultural issue, and culture has to be developed. Corruption-free culture has a problem that it is connected with economic issues as well. I mean, if you cannot meet both ends meet, and if you cannot meet your essential requirements, then you are always tempted to get into corruption practice. So we need to inculcate among people simple living and contentment within your means, and for this purpose media, literature and TV can come to your assistance. Robert Hunja gives an account of how to fight corruption, and according to him, people have to participate with the government, and we need to bring behavioral change both on the formal levels and also in non-formal levels, and all the stakeholders have to work together, like government, citizens, business, civil society groups, media and academia. We need to do justice. Justice should be visible, and there has to be an incentive and a punishment balance. We are in fact studying what others have been recommending to us, like other people, writers, and other organizations, and, international organizations. And we have ADB, OECD, and they have a report on the initiative for corruption in Asia and the Pacific. And they have listed out what can be done so that corruption can be minimized. And as you see, it has to be taken as an integrated effort. And people need to be sensitized so that everybody knows that something has to be done. And public may be allowed into the public meetings, and they need to be published or maybe issued on request. Asian Development Bank has given some guidelines. I think they are worth going through, and they are stressing about that the mechanisms are already there, and in fact the implementation is weak. So we need to stress about implementation, and a law, a parliamentary law is needed to be generated. And there is a lack of coherence. I think this is what they have indicated. On the national framework level, a coherent policy and practices have to be introduced. A good deal of corruption can be monitored and controlled by introducing smart technologies and smart e-government. And in this, there are various steps, various phases rather. Initially, we need to conduct a SWOT analysis, that is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we need to develop a vision as what we are trying to do, what are the targets, how much time frame we have. And the phase 2 is in fact building blocks, strategic building blocks. So establishing an e-government model, differentiating layers of e-government, identifying positions to the stakeholders, selecting types and positions of infrastructure, establishing benchmarks, developing infrastructure, imparting professional skills and operable design. The smarter technologies that we are talking about are big data and data mining and these mobile apps that we are accustomed to. And these technologies help us in establishing a smart system. And in combating corruption, establishing e-government, we have the step 3, that is governance, and the step 4, that is a gap analysis. We have Kulsum Abbasi Shako reference very nicely describes what is e-governance. And that is smart really means being smart, being moral, accountable, responsive, and transparent. And on the steps 5 is the implementation plan. Step 6 is monitoring and revisions. This is the element of discretion which has to be eliminated. And we need a centralized authority who can oversee through smart means what is being done at what levels, and really all procurement should be carried out on competitive bidding basis. The basis is already there. I think it is already sorted out, but its implementation is not there, and we need to be very meticulous about it and carry out the implementation according to the e-model and the smart technology that we can make use of. We need to ensure that all employees follow procedures, in order to ensure that there needs to be an overseeing committee, at least 3 departmental members. And one may be taken from Pakistan Engineering Council, and one from the Institute of Chartered Accountant, and one from the Chamber of Commerce. So this is really an integrated process, and which will oversee through smart means that employees follow procedures. There are recommendations made by the Budget Study Center, which are worthy of going through, and this is a list of the recommendations that they have made. The system, in fact, works on a smart way, and it collects a database, and a huge database is collected, and which is analyzed, and the whole analysis really gears around linking causes to effects, and what are the causes of corruption, and how does corruption affect the system. So how it is done, really we need to see what are various parameters, and what are the causes and what are the effects, and foremost is the deprivation level, and awareness, loss of awareness, and then officials not being professionally qualified or trained, and departments are not really on checking process, and the system is not strong enough to bow down before the pressures of influentials. This relation of causes to effects is normally carried out by drawing a fishbone diagram, as you can see on the slide. You identify causes, and you relate them to the effect, and a data center gives you a lot of data, and the causes are related to effects by this analysis. Now, a SWOT analysis is carried out. The SWOT really means identification of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When we come to strengths, we see that various mechanisms already exist. The procurement framework mechanisms already exist, and there is already an organization, National Accountability Bureau, which is in existence, and we also have a strength that to some extent e-government is already established. So we carry out the strengths, and then we go ahead with the weaknesses. As a cursory observation, when we look at the weaknesses, the foremost weakness is that there is no one central controlling authority, and various places, various departments, various districts have their own practices, and there is no single operative body that is especially particularly meant for elimination of corruption. And the procuring agencies and departments have virtually no experience. The people employed in procurement are not trained, not qualified, and not certificated. Let's continue with the weaknesses, and we see that there is no accredited training program, and personnel responsible on procurement must be professionally trained in finance, in tendering, accountancy, engineering, legalities, and computer use, and more importantly, on personality development towards integrity, trust, customer focus, interpersonal skills, and empathy. And this accountability organizations are also very understaffed. Regarding opportunities, luckily we have traditional value sets. And these traditional value sets, I think we need to revisit, and that teach us self-contentment, simple life, and restraint from greed. I think this needs to be projected by media, literature, and TV to inculcate these values. And regarding threats, corruption is really connected to temptations. And this the cultural environment of temptations is a real threat to the whole system. This is the diagrammatic depiction of SWOT analysis. As you see, on strength side, we have PPRA in place and NAB is functioning and partly e-government existing. And on weaknesses side, procurement is not a central controlled function. It is spread out, and there are no training programs, and there is shortage of staff and shortage of funds. On the threat side, we have strong influentials, and judiciary is slow and not impartial, and there is a deep state election. The opportunity, we have media, TV, and it's easier to reach to the people and easier to get people together, and the God fearing is still a force. Dr. M. Amanullah has presented a systems dynamic model on corruption. I think it's a good effort, and as you see, he has used Winsome software, and a system dynamics model has been studied, developed by him, and on the next slide we can have a look. We see Dr. Amanullah's model is here, and it's a systems dynamic model attempted on corruption. As we see in the model, there are key variables, and key variable on the left hand side, as you see, the parameters are listed down regarding corruption, and in the center is bureaucratic quality, and on the right hand side is control over appointments by influentials and other issues. Arriving near conclusion, we can see that we can draw three parallel lines on which this combating corruption procedure can be drawn. And these three lines are to be taken consistently and congruently. The journey from corrupt to transparent procurement, as we see that there are three lines. One is regulatory strengthening, and the middle one is officials, competence, integrity, and training, and on the right we have public sensitization. Among regulatory strengthening, we need tight regulations and no room for discretion. Then freedom from vested interferences. In the middle, regarding officials, competence and integrity, we have training professionals and competence in integrity. and strict punishment and reward mechanisms. On the public sensitization level, we need public to participate, and they let them feel the ownership of collective losses and public access to procurement processes.